Do not let your hearts be troubled. These are the first words out of Jesus' mouth in our gospel reading today. A comforting, intimate promise spoken to disciples who were anxious, confused, and fearful of what the future held. Yet, within just a few verses, Jesus pivots from comfort to a challenge. Whoever believes in me will do the works I've been doing, and they will do greater things than these. Do the works. It's a command that can feel overwhelming, especially when our hearts are already heavy with the troubles of the world. For many in the Pacific Islander and Asian American communities, history is one of living in troubled times, navigating displacement, overcoming racism, or witnessing the scars of environmental damage on ancestral islands. They know what it means to live in troubled times. And we too know what it means to live in troubled times. The world has been troubled since the very beginning. And we've been affected by it in some cases dramatically and in some cases indirectly, but still. Yet they are not called to mere survival. They are called to sit quietly. They are not called to sit quietly in the room Jesus is preparing. We all are called to do the works. Today on Palm Sunday, we celebrate a vibrant, resilient, and faithful community that has always, in the face of uncertainty, done the work. We look to the faith of our ancestors, the strength of our diverse languages and cultures, and the fierce love of a community that makes room at the table for all. Do the work means following Jesus' model of loving service, fighting for justice, and being the hands and feet of God right now, in this generation and at this time. It's a call to take comfort in Jesus and turn it into the courage of action. So let us explore what it means to do the work in our homes, our communities, and our world today. According to the Gospel of John, Jesus' farewell words to his disciples in the discourse anticipate and assume the events that lie ahead: the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the ascension. And we will celebrate the ascension on May 17th with Pentecost right after that. So these are big church days, and I know your eyes are going, but they are important in the life of the church. We often hear the words, "Do not let your hearts be troubled," at funerals and at times of grave illness. I know that when I was in hospice, this was always a comforting word for many people who were on their last few days of life. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in me, believe also in God. And Jesus is reminding us that a troubled heart isn't necessary if we put our trust in him, because trust is another word for faith. It's a way to look at it. Sometimes you think, I don't have any faith, but do you have enough trust that God is going to be with you? So what are we trusting Jesus for? For comfort, certainly, but also for a place to rest our heads, a place where the troubles of the world can be addressed because we're not alone. We are in the company of Jesus. And Thomas, God bless that guy, he just keeps popping up. He wants a roadmap to the many rooms, a map to where Jesus is going. But a map isn't necessary, Jesus tells him. Like many or most of the characters in John's gospel, Thomas hears Jesus' promise of a place on the literal level. Where are you going, Jesus? We need a map, a diagram, something like that to get us to the right location. And into this misunderstanding, Jesus offers one of the most well-known and ill-used I am statements in John's gospel. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God but through me, to the Father but through me. So it sounds exclusionary. Only one way to heaven, and Jesus has it. And it's been used that way in many circumstances. There's only one way to heaven, only one way to those many mansions that Jesus has promised, and that is by believing in Jesus alone. But it's not. Jesus is telling his followers, you know me, I know you, what more do we need? And it is that knowledge that led to Stephen's stoning in the story from Acts that we heard. Stephen was a deep believer in the words of Jesus, trusted that implicitly, went out to do the good works that he'd been told to do, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, make sure that the people who go without are given something to survive. He was out preaching and doing the words of Jesus. In his preaching, he ran across the dogmatic religion of the day, and people misunderstood that they felt like he was trying to replace Judaism with some unknown cultic language, which he was not doing. But anyway, as you saw as you heard in the reading, they rushed to take him out. They pulled him. The mob was at work again. The mob and the powers of empire were at work. So they pulled him out, stoned him to death. That's why he's known as the first martyr for our Christian faith, Stephen, the first martyr. And in that horrible act, the people who were going to stone him threw their cloaks at the feet of a man named Saul. And Saul, who would later become Paul and write most of our letters in much of the New Testament, was converted. Not right then. He was a deep believer that they were doing the right thing, stoning him to death. And it's an example of sometimes we get in our minds that we know the right way. Our way is the right way. And whatever it takes to enforce that is okay. But that's not what this story tells us. Because they did stone him to death. They threw their cloaks at Saul's feet, and he guarded them and watched them and applauded them and thought they did the right thing. It was the conversion later that helped shape Christianity. And we'll hear about that story on the road to Damascus and how he hears Jesus' voice. But the point is, in this story today and in the gospel story, that I am the way, the truth, and the life. As we seek the truth, we will find the path that Jesus has set out for us. We are not called to become evangelicals standing on the street corners. We are called to do the work that Jesus has set out before us. And we know what that is. We did that with taking clothes to Recovery Cafe. We don't know who's going to benefit from that. Who's going to benefit from the socks, and oh my God, the shoes, they were so happy. The shoes were like, these are gold. They had to carry them separately to make sure they got in there. Those are the things we're called to do as Christians, to help other people, to keep our eyes open in this world, not to destroy the world, to drill everywhere we feel like it, but to keep the world as a safe and wonderful place that it is for each of us, for those who are suffering, to ease their suffering, for those who are filled with the 7 deadly sins, to pay attention to that and not become participants. We see a lot of that, greed, lust, envy. We see a lot of it in our world. We do not have to become part of it. We have to remember, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And the life. We find our meaning in faith, our meaning in trust of God, and our lives have meaning when we can carry that word into the world in tangible ways of kindness, support, helping others in their distress. Even here, in helping to put together affordable housing for those who need a place to live. Yesterday, I'm just going to go off script here for a minute, like I do. But yesterday, we had all the churches in the association who were there. We had a quorum talk about what their churches were doing, and we are the furthest along on the affordable housing. at least we've got a plan. It looks like a couple of years. Campbell has been at it for 10 years, and I think they're nearly at the point where they've got a decision. They have a school on their property, and so they've got to help them relocate. So there's a lot going on out there, and I just want you to know that by taking the steps that we've taken, we're becoming leaders, people that are looking at us on how to get these things moving, how to help those who are suffering, how to help families get a start in this expensive part of the world. So thank you, and thank you for all that you've done, because we are indeed following the words of Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life, not just for each of us individually, but for us communally as a church. Amen.